The movie revolves around an FSC, soldier first class, named James Harper, a decorated Green Beret who gets discharged from the Army on the premise of him using an illegal steroid for his debilitating knee injury. It is clear that Harper is patriotic to a fault, because despite him being discharged and having no pension whatsoever, left to look out for scraps, he is still hesitant to look for other jobs that would include something else besides what he is trained for, the Special Forces. This also reflects upon the inability of the individuals like Harper who were not able to do a 9-to-5 job after their time in the military, and why it is so hard to fit in after everything is done and dusted. Finding himself in a dark place, mainly struggling on the financial side of things, he contacts Mike, a friend of his who works with a private military company under a fellow veteran, Rusty Jennings. In the meantime, Harper gets offers from other organizations as well, but feels a sense of duty to his country and is not interested until Mike tells him that Rusty is actually performing clandestine operations for the Department of Defense, after which Harper agrees to meet Rusty. The movie presents itself as a somber, haunting, and gut-wrenching sequence of events that is mainly driven by Chris Pine, a vehicle that seems to be packed for everything. It shines a light on the Department of Defense's inability to rehabilitate U.S. soldiers who have dedicated major chunks of their life, mind, and their body to fruitless missions, indicating the fact that Harper has a bad knee injury and a lung problem. After signing a contract for Rusty, along with other members of the private organization, Harper is sent to Germany on a mission that is explained as a situation in Berlin that threatens the national security of his country, dipping into Harper's subconsciousness of him being patriotic and why he is so willing to do what is needed in the first place, but not before he receives from Rusty a hefty $50,000 to help him and his family clear their debts as a sign of good health. On his mission, Harper spends most of his time following a Middle Eastern scientist named Salim, and after analyzing the data, Rusty confirms that Salim is actually working for Al-Qaeda and is in the process of developing a bioagent. Following this, the entire team is given the call to raid Salim's laboratory, retrieve all of his research data, and then dispose of him. The team easily takes over Salim's lab, but Harper protests against Rusty's decision to dispose of Salim, with the explanation that he is just a scientist who is following orders and working on a cure. However, Harper follows the orders given to him and departs after setting the entire lab on fire. After everything is done and dusted, the team is confronted by the police, and after a prolonged shootout, the entire team is killed off, except Harper, who rescues wounded Mike and finds a hideout place in a nearby storm drain. Believing that he is about to die, Mike tasks Harper to look after his family and to retrieve the data of the research from the lab to Rusty. Harper performs a blood transfusion and saves Mike's life, who, after recuperating, informs Harper that there is a car waiting for him outside to exfiltrate him. But Harper senses that something is not quite right. As he tries to delay his departure toward the car, a hit team emerges that starts to shoot at Harper. He is trained enough to evade getting killed and manages to eliminate the entire hit team, who are revealed to be former recon Marines who are also working for Rusty. One of the members of the hit team, before his dying breath, informs Harper and gives him information about a safe house where he should go, because he can never return home after his latest endeavors. Harper does as he's told with caution and goes on a solo mission towards Salim's house, where he threatens his wife Sylvie to provide him with all the computer files on her husband, after which she gives Harper Salim's iPad and leaves for the safe house. Harper meets with an old friend, Virgil, who also advises him to not return home because that action does not guarantee the safety of his family back home. A video is played on Salim's iPad in which the scientist explains that he was indeed working on a successful vaccine formula that he intends to provide for free rather than sell it to a pharmaceutical company. A moment when Harper realizes that Salim was actually doing what was right, but because of him wanting to distribute the vaccine for free around the world, something that would make people fall sick less often, something that would endanger the pharmaceutical companies around the world, he was deemed a threat for many powerful people around the globe, including Harper's beloved country. During dinner time, Harper and Virgil get attacked by another team that is working for Rusty. with the latter getting killed off. Harper manages to escape the clutches and sets a booby trap for Rusty's team. Driven by his need to be with his family, as I said before, not wanting to follow in his father's footsteps, who left and never came back, he claws his way back to the United States of America, and despite being hesitant for a moment, he decides to trust his old friend Mike yet again, simply because things were not as they looked like, and that, as I mentioned before, Mike was also lied to by Rusty that Harper was indeed dead. In his absence, Harper learns that Rusty has been providing for his family and is advised by Mike to disappear, but Harper protests, which brings his old friend to the good side, and the two set up a plan to get revenge on Rusty. Mike gets Harper into Rusty's compound, where they surprise Rusty's guards, and while Mike distracts everyone with a front attack, Harper manages to sneak through the back of Rusty's safe house and comes face to face with his mortal enemy. He terminates Rusty, but not before he is able to fatally wound Mike, ending the entire revenge plan, which eventually sees Harper return home. Harper was hesitant to go back home, but he couldn't abandon his family in the way that his father did to him, and decides to do what his heart tells him, and reunites with his family, not wanting to be yet another soldier who took away his own life, or one that lost his way over the years because of all the wrong things he did throughout it. Harper does reconcile with his family, with a scene showing him observing his family and seeing that the $50,000 he received before even going on his first mission were well spent, something that leads the audience to believe that James will not inform his family of his presence and will leave. However, as the camera focuses on his son, Jack, in the closing shot, James shouts out to him. He's probably realized that there are people out there who know what he has done, and they might come for him. And his family, now that they have been exposed to danger after his contact with them, something that might force the entire Harper family to go into hiding as a result of James's actions and what he has done. The veterans are the point of the movie's story and the message it tries to send to the entire world, a world in which they have been torn away from their families and made to suffer for years on end without any hope that things will even get better, which becomes difficult to understand why the men in the movie were fighting, but also if there was anything worth preserving at all. The tone throughout the movie always felt realistic, with a percussive score building up tension, as well as well-placed dialogue between two characters, who continue forward regardless of whether or when something goes wrong, and everything they have and are about to endure, with the lack of risk taken from the people who have worked on the movie being the things that weigh it down. No surprising moments, or at least not for the ones who have watched many movies of the action thriller genre in the last couple of years. Something a possible future installment could be looking to improve upon.